All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner today, and your Michigan Wolverines are Sweet 16 bound for the sixth time in 8 years. It's pretty damn good, and I would say with the down years being as down as they were, pretty impressive. But all in all, with just focusing on this season, holy shit, Dusty May is the real deal, and I'm glad that we got him locked down here in Ann Arbor.
I'll tell you what, man, you look at Dave Biddle, he's just a guy who knows a lot of sports. And he didn't agree with Michigan's hire of Dusty May a year ago. And I didn't see Ohio State. Were they on TV at all this?
I did not see. They must have been. Is it like True TV or like Court TV? Some of those channels I don't catch all the time.
They might have been on like the El Mundo channel, dog. I don't know. No, I think Dusty, what an incredible job by Ward Manuel. Ward gets a lot of heat, but I think he's nailed it out of the park with
nailed
Dusty.
It out of the park. I like that.
Yeah. Isn't that?
I feel like.
Did I combine two phrases?
I feel like you combined two phrases.
Hit it out of the park.
It's fine.
He nailed it, and he hit it out of the park.
There you go.
With Dusty. Feels that way with Sharon, too, with the way Michigan's recruiting. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, just a resilient group of guys, too. I mean, when you go back to, this time last year, I remember, Justin, you, myself, and Nolan were at the Pretzel Bell, which came full circle watching Michigan go to the Sweet 16 at the Pretzel Bell. We were there, and we didn't think Dusty was coming. We thought he was going to Louisville. You kind of heard that he might be going to Louisville, and then it's like, oh, we're getting Dusty May. And so he had to put together a roster very quickly. And, man, we talked about it at the Pretzel Bowl on Saturday. And, I think a lot of us, any Michigan fans, probably been frustrated with Roddy Gale this year.
Of course.
But the performance he had in the biggest moments, he was 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 4 of 6 from 3, 26 points. That was just kind of we talk about Michigan in close games being a microcosm of their season, right? Like the UCSD game, you could say it's a microcosm of the entire season. I think that Roddy Gale's performance is a bit of a microcosm for this season because these guys just don't go away. They're down 10. You know me. I'm an emotional sports watcher. I'm like, shit, this is not great. I'm not enjoying this.
I've got to say, you tend to be that guy that's goes negative pretty quickly.
I do.
We're all going to die. Like the world is ending.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, it's going to we're going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm kind of that way because I love my sports teams and just passionate. Win. Yeah. But the fact that they were down 10 and they battled back, and then A&M comes down, hits the 3 to go at 4 points. You're like, oh man, just can't get a stop to take the lead. Michigan goes on a 25-9 run, fueled by Roddy Gale. I just couldn't commend this coaching staff and this program more for what they've done in the last year of completely reestablishing the roster, the culture, recruiting. I mean, just everything that Dusty and his staff has done is so impressive.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, I was a little worried 2 months ago, when things were going really well, and you're a little worried, okay, I don't want to get us too high on Dusty too early. And then, the expectations all of a sudden are Final Four or bust in year one, which is it's crazy talk, right? And then especially with how the way the regular season ended, I just worried okay, he's still the guy, but I want people to be behind him, right? But where if you lose that first round Big Ten tournament game and then sputter in the NCAA tournament, it's what was this first season, right? You're still happy, but you got a really bad taste in towards the end of it. But to your point, how annoying is Michigan to the rest of the world right now? Right. It's okay, we were high. We're all in on Dusty May. You end the season poorly. And then even when we look to your point on Saturday, when we look like we're about to lose or we're down and out. All right. They finally with this, finally with all these close games, they're not going to be able to come out on top, and they figure it out. And to your point, they don't go away. and they've found ways to win. It's been different guys. You know, Trey Donaldson has been unbelievable after going non-existent for those last 3 games in the regular season to now. Like, he's running this shit literally, right? And so Trey Donaldson, and then to your point, Roddy Gale, and I'll just pick up what I posted yesterday was in the first month of the season, Roddy Gale had 10 3-pointers in the month. He was like 10 for 28. Great start. Yeah, like we will take that all day long from your 2-3 guard, right? Like, then from December 10th to March 20th, he made 5 total. Not good. That's where you're gonna struggle scoring when your shooting guard is shooting like that, right? Then on Saturday night, he goes 4 for 6 from 3 in one of the most improbable performances, but like also in an incredibly clutch situation that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, in that first half, I'm like, I want Roddy to be more aggressive, like, because he was that hot hand. He was making plays, getting to the bucket, getting to the foul line. He was hitting his free throws. Michigan as a whole, by the way, as a side note, I think they were 28 of 36. They shot 81% from the stripe. I mean, that's winning basketball in March. And those are things that, you know, that in turnovers, like, that's going to kill us. We're not going to be able to overcome that. And they have. And so, but yeah, with Roddy, I mean, I just was so impressed. He was really good against UCSD, right? Like, he had some big buckets, so he got to the rim. So and in the Big Ten tournament as well. I mean, and to your point with Trey, I feel like the clock hits 1:59. Trey Donaldson just like powers up, and
it's like, Trey Donaldson time.
Yeah, like the 3 against Maryland, and then the game winner, obviously, and then he has that ridiculous left-handed like floater kind of thing as he's falling away with the shot clock running down and puts Michigan up 5, and they never look back from that point. I mean, he just makes ridiculous plays.
He's had multiple shots in the past couple weeks where I'm like, no, yes, right? Yeah. Like that exact thing where you're like, what are you doing? Okay, you made it. And he just keeps making it happen. And I don't even understand how it's happening.
And you know, the crazy thing, Justin, you're talking about from your 2 and your 3, Namari didn't record any stats. He didn't have a point,
which is crazy
because he's been very good. I mean, he's typically, you find him, he's open, he's got a bit of a longer range for his 3-point shot than most college players do. And, you know, you make up for it because Vlad's got 23, Danny's got 14, Roddy's got 26. And then you talk about kind of this team in unsung heroes. LJ Kaysen has a huge second half with 8 points, 11 total. And then Reuben Jones quietly 7 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, like really solid game from guys that you don't really see that from. And so it's just, again, it's that culture, it's that team that Dusty was able to put together so quickly. Like, it's just it's so impressive. I mean, obviously he has the portal, right? And like it's easier to rebuild teams overnight nowadays.
Right,
but
of course.
There's a lot of first-year coaches that try to do that, and they're sitting at home or they're in the NIT or they got bounced in the first round.
Well, I think it's like, okay, not only did he pick up talent in the portal so quickly, he picked up pieces to the puzzle that all fit together pretty damn well. And they did it right away. You know, you saw it when Michigan went on that West Coast road trip to play at UCLA and USC. And then, you know, they've just gotten closer and closer. And I think they feed off of each other. I mean, the couple things I want to highlight that you did a little bit, but like Vlad going 9 of 11 from the free throw line as a 7-footer is just like, holy shit. Like, that does not happen in college basketball. And then to your point about LJ Kaysen, you know, there was, when Trey got 3 fouls, that was a scary moment for a lot of us, right? Where we're like, okay, we usually, when Trey goes out, and not even from a scoring perspective, but just running the offense perspective, that's when we go on those lulls because you have to have Danny up top a lot. And then, you know, it just screws up the flow of our offense. So LJ, like, feeling the confidence as a freshman in a game to go to the Sweet 16 to come out and play the way that he did was incredible. And there were a couple times where it was like he took it to the rack and was like, it felt like he had been playing point guard for us all year. So I loved that. And then to your point, like Damari ended up only with 13 minutes on the day because Roddy played his ass off, obviously. And so you weren't going to take him out of the game. And then with LJ giving those like really solid minutes with Trey out, I got to give it to Dusty also, how to have the guts to play LJ down the stretch there like that, leave Trey on the bench and leave Namari on the bench. I mean, that's talking, that is wisdom beyond your years for Dusty May.
Yeah, well, and I think too, like throughout the season, especially early in the season, LJ got a lot of run, and as it got into conference play, he didn't get as many minutes, and then they kind of picked back up. And I always felt, and I probably said this, I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but I know I've said it, like, and I know Pippen just entered the portal, but I would say it about him too, and I still think that, but like you play these young guys now because they are going to help you win in March.
Yes.
I've said that about LJ Kaysen since like November. I'm like, look, he's raw, but he's athletic. He knows the game. You could tell he like it's started to kind of process for him. He's confident with his jumper. It wasn't falling. And then man, what happened? We're down 10. I think he kicked off kind of the comeback with a big 3.
Yep.
And then he was getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line. I think he only hit half his free throws, but he still was kind of that spark. And Dusty said that in the post-game presser that like when LJ came in, it was kind of flat, right? It wasn't, Michigan wasn't really looking like, that's when I was a little freaked out. And he comes in and just makes massive plays for a freshman who was going to go to Florida Atlantic a year ago.
Right.
But all those minutes throughout the season and that coaching and that development got him ready to step up with the big 11-point game to go to the Sweet 16.
Can we just talk about how good of a recruiter Dusty May is? He was going to get LJ Kaysen to come to FAU. Like
and
that's
he put him in the American, man. Like they got some good basketball down there. Obviously, with Dusty come, they took him to the Final Four, and I've actually got a good friend of mine who's on staff at UAB, and they lost to Memphis in their conference championship. Like they play good basketball down there. But I tell you this, LJ in that conference, man, he could just get downhill, get to the rim. I mean, he's doing it against Texas A&M, who's one of the faster teams in the country as far as their guards getting side to side. I mean, he was just blown by him. So. Yeah, I was just really impressed with LJ. I mean, everybody, man. I mean, everybody made big plays. Cheddar only had 14 minutes. He only had a couple points, but he had some big offensive rebounds. Let's talk about this, Justin. I don't know if you tweeted this. I've seen this a bunch. They're the number 1 or number 2 offensive rebounding team in the country, depending on whatever stat you're using. Michigan got more offensive rebounds and they out-rebounded them.
I mean, you're saying A&M was the best
yes.
offensive rebounding. Yeah. I mean, I just think something happened after that last Michigan State game in the regular season where I don't know exactly what was said by Dusty or his staff or the guys, but they turned from soft to tough and in like overnight, essentially, right? Yeah. It was like somebody had a come to Jesus moment with those guys, and it went from, hey, we're not boxing out, we're letting the ball drop to the floor, we're not hustling for a rebound, we're not, getting to our guys, to all of a sudden that is the main focus. And again, you want to talk about how you win in March, I got to give a nod to Tom Izzo here. Is like, that's how he's done it for 30 plus years. Right. So that's been a huge key. Not even just like, obviously the offensive boards are huge, but just the way that Michigan was losing games at the end of the regular season was letting other teams offensive rebound, right? Like It was just like, we'd play 30 seconds of awesome defense, then it'd be a long rebound and they'd get the board. And it's like, to do that over and over again just is so disheartening and tiring and exhausting. So I totally agree with you. That has been, I don't know, the toughness, the resiliency, if something happened within Chrysler Center, within practice or the meeting room, after that Michigan State loss at the Breslin, and it was like, hey, we're not going to let our season end like this. And they have completely turned it around.
Well, and it helps you can hit some shots too, right? Because that's just affects your energy, and you're giving more effort on defense because your shots are falling. So it's like, at this time of year, sometimes you got to get a little lucky. And Michigan's had some bounces go their way, thankfully, throughout the season. But there's been a lot of jokes about Michigan because they just win by 3 points or whatever. Like I think that's a skill, right? In the same way that I felt that Michigan under Juwan Howard, especially in what that was 22-23, his second to last year, when they just would lose close game after close game. I thought it was a skill that they could lose that many close games. Same with Scott Frost at Nebraska, right?
I was just gonna say we're the opposite of Nebraska football.
Right, but you find ways to win. And when you look at this team in these look at every single game aside from Purdue, the last 4 games have all gone down to the wire.
Yeah.
And Michigan has been in those games every single night throughout the season. If you want to call that luck, whatever. But I think that Michigan is comfortable in those situations. They know who they are. They know what they're going to do in those late game situations. And yeah, sometimes you got to get a little lucky because Maryland decides to not stop Trey. I mean, that's just the way basketball goes, right? But I think they've done such a great job of, they haven't closed out games in the way that we want, but I think some of that's probably helped them for these last 4 games because they're all tight games.
I totally agree with you. It has been not good for our hearts and our blood pressure, right? But I truly believe that has helped them. I mean, normally when you are all right, you're on the West Coast, you're playing another game, and Texas A&M has all the momentum in the world, right? They're talking their talk like that point guard did, right? And then and you're down 10, right? And you're down double digits. Like, if you aren't used to being in this situation where you're up and down, which sucks to go so up and down like that, but then you probably fold in that situation. But they've been there a lot. Obviously, they live there. Let's be honest. And so they, to your point, feel very comfortable there. And so now you head to Atlanta, which is going to be. I'm still deciding if I'm going down or not, or if we're going to be heading to Pretzel Bell again. We will have a watch party at Pretzel Bell, no doubt, which was elite on Saturday. I have to say.
Your wife kept giving me Labatt Blue Light because nobody else wanted it, and I was like, I don't care.
I'll just it.
It had the Red Wings logo on the bottleneck. I was like, this is great. I love this. This is phenomenal.
We were drinking. They had the $25 buckets of domestics, which it's not 5. You get 6.
Yeah, you're talking $4.25 a beer. That's not bad.
That's a great deal for downtown Ann Arbor. You can do it for seltzers too. So they've got great deals going on. They're gonna do it again on Friday night. We'll be there. We'll see. I'm deciding if I'm going to Atlanta, but we'll have a crew there and we'll have the DJ and everything. But you head to Atlanta, which is going to be insane because Michigan State is also going to be in Atlanta and we're playing back to back. So I can't imagine the animosity of the crowd in Atlanta at the State Farm Center.
Well, and Auburn's under 2 hours from Atlanta.
So talk about hostile environments. Holy smokes. And then to top it all off, Trey Donaldson was an Auburn Tiger a year ago, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so many storylines of what's going on in Atlanta on Friday night. And so, and the funny thing is like one of the non-storylines that I've seen is they're number 1. They're the number 1 seed. They're incredible. They've been really, really good all year long.
Yeah, man, they are. That SEC was a gauntlet. You can, pick and prod at the SEC because they had some upsets, but they had 14 teams in the tournament. So you're bound to lose some of those. I mean, that's, I think Big Ten, SEC, certainly 2 best conferences in the country. I think SEC is probably just a touch better, at least in the regular and conference tournaments. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough environment, man. You're an hour 45 from Auburn to Atlanta. I'm sure there's even quicker drives for some folks who don't live in Auburn, and maybe Auburn grads that live in Atlanta, right? Like that's kind of like a hub city for like any just all the businesses. There's a ton of Michigan alum there too, right? But you talk about SEC, it's like the headquarters of the SEC.
It's like the headquarters. It's the Chicago of the Big Ten, right? For what Chicago is to the Big Ten, that's what Atlanta is
comparison.
To the SEC. And so it's going to be tough for sure. This is where obviously I think we got screwed with the 5 seed where we should have at least been a 4. But if you could have been that 3 seed and Now I know Chris Beard and Ole Miss are playing really well, but you get to play that 2 seed instead of the 1 in this situation. That's where the big difference is. But hey, I'm a guy that, like, yes, am I gonna watch and complain about our seating because I'm a sports fan? Sure, but also at the end of the day, once you get this deep into the NCAA tournament, you're playing really good basketball teams no matter what, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what one of the coaches was. I can't remember what coach, maybe it was Calipari, but he's like, at this point in the tournament, you're playing great teams. Like, you're not, I mean, it's not, a cupcake, right?
Right.
Even in the first 2 rounds, like, you're playing really good teams. Like, Michigan played UCSD, who was like, I think top 35 in net, or Ken Palmer both. So,
Right.
and even like, with Michigan State playing the 10 seed New Mexico, they were like 40th in the country. Like, those are good teams. Those are tough
Dude,
teams to play.
I will say, sorry, this is a total side note, but
Yeah.
watching that Michigan State, New Mexico was good, man. I got to give props to State again, because even though that was a home game for them pretty much in Cleveland, but like, they were damn good and tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because everyone always talks about how they're like 320th in 3-point shooting. And every time I turn around, these dudes are hitting like the biggest threes. They stretch the lead out to 9 points every time.
They do not hit them like until they desperately need them. And then in that moment, they always hit them.
No, they're a tough team. They're crafty for sure. You can complain about the officiating if you want, but Jeremy Fears does a really good job of getting those calls. Is it Jeremy? Which one? His brother is Jeremiah.
I don't know.
There's one in Oklahoma. Fears. He made some plays where it's like, you hate it if you're rooting for New Mexico, or but if you're a Michigan State fan, it's like, that dude he's crafty, right?
He's
like,
so annoying to watch. He's so as a hater, he is very annoying, because he's incredible at just. And there was one specific possession where, like, New Mexico again had played like 29 seconds of incredible defense, and then he, with 1 second left on the clock, drew a foul, and it's like,
but it was because he got his arm. Like, it was a foul, but it's like, how do you fall for that?
Exactly. I know. I'm not saying it was a bad call. It was good by him. It was just like, it's one of those things that's just so annoying.
The one that was, I know, we're obviously, we're obviously a Michigan podcast here, but the one that blew my mind, well, there's 2 of them, and they were very close in sequence. The one is he got the ball, and the dude from New Mexico, their best player, had just dunked it. Dude was running back on defense, and Fears just like runs right into him with the ball, and they call a foul, and he gets shoot free throws because they're in the bonus.
that was tough.
There was the one, I think it was like a 1-point game at this point, and the ball got kind of knocked away, and so both because they were double teaming, and both New Mexico defenders start sprinting after the ball, and it somehow was a foul in New Mexico, because he just kind of like was in the way. And it's like, I mean, the ball's not in anybody's possession at that point. It's almost like a breakaway foul.
Yeah.
But they won. They definitely had their moments of slow starts this weekend, but they're a 2 seed for a reason. I think they're a really, really good team, obviously. So
they're just a classic Izzo team where, like, there really isn't anybody that you're pointing to. I mean, Jace Richardson is incredible.
Yeah, he's that guy for me.
Even when he didn't, what did he have? Like 6 points yesterday? Like, he did 0 up until the last 5 minutes or whatever. So they're such a team where even when they don't have a guy taking over the game, they figure it out, right? Which is like the most Izzo thing ever. And he also, they're built for March. They have 3 centers that are all, like, in my mind, pretty average, but they work. Like, those guys don't work anywhere except for like Michigan State and Wisconsin, right? Like, that's it. But they're very good, and they all rebound really well. I mean, I'll say this about like Michigan and Michigan State right now. It is amazing that we're back to this Michigan State banter in basketball. We're both in the Sweet 16, both at the same location, both at the same regional. Like, I mean, this is what makes March Madness so awesome in the state of Michigan, because when we're both good, it is so fun.
Yeah, it is. Maybe a little toxic, but I think that just comes with the territory.
It is what it is.
I was trash talking Ohio State fans, and I was getting like Michigan State fans. Like, I was like, all right, man. Like,
They've got a weird like little love
A
triangle
connection.
against it.
Yeah. So it's fine. We should join forces with somebody else. I don't know who.
Well, they need
Actually,
to,
no, we shouldn't.
we're big enough on our own that we can do it. We can defend ourselves. They need.
We're gonna get doxxed, by the way. Like, we're gonna, we're gonna need to get like
somebody's definitely going to
need to get like LifeLock to sponsor our podcast so we can get some free, no. So yeah, I mean, whoever, I don't know what they were doing with the bracket, like putting Michigan State in the same region. I don't know if that's ever.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing. And so, the college basketball world is 2 wins away from maybe the most toxic.
Oh my!
Because okay, Duke North Carolina played in a Final Four, right? Like Kentucky, Indiana's played in the tournament before. I don't know if those rivalries really come close to Michigan State as far as like pettiness, just hatred.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say without being in the middle of it, right?
But right, we're not involved in that, but like I don't know, man. It's just it's very toxic.
It's a next level of like just like I don't know what we need to like create a new word for it.
Something, man. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome this weekend. Can I real quick though complain and bitch and moan real quick about the tournament schedule? What are we doing?
What are we doing with a 9:39 p.m. tip in Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, not even that so much because you have the 2 games, right? And so you're going to start at like 7. So I get that. My problem more so is with the Saturday, Sunday. So you have 8 games each day. And like we have 1 game from noon to 2:30 and 1 game from 2:30 to 5. And then it's like we have 6 games over the next 3 hours. And it's like, what are we doing? Why can I not like just stagger them? I have constant basketball.
That the Saturday, Sunday, where I think they do such a good job on Thursday, Friday. Like it is perfectly staggered all day long, right? And then I know, like I'm sure, from a TV rating standpoint, you want it later in the day so that people are home, I guess. But like to me, that's still like the March Madness weekend, and it's like, all right, I want a few games. And I don't need games. I know we're East Coasters, obviously, but I don't need games going till after midnight on a Sunday, right? Like,
no, I was up. Dude, I didn't get to bed on Thursday until 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
Exactly. Because, to be fair, I watched the rest of the games. But, like, come on. Don't put them so late.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
But yeah, it's going to be an incredible weekend. Just so happy to be involved again. It's been a long couple of years for us Michigan fans to not be in the tournament. Got to go back to 2022 when Michigan lost to Nova in the Sweet 16. Yeah. So it's 3 years and some change since then, and just again so happy to be a part of the conversation, be in the tournament, be in the Sweet 16. This is. Michigan State fans don't think it's that important. They've only been this is their second Sweet 16 since 2020. This is Michigan's third, so it's not as important to them. But this is why this is why you love college basketball. You get to see your team. You're now 2 wins from the Final Four, and you're 4 from a national championship. Right, it's all right there in front of you for 16 different teams. I think this is great.
Michigan State fans apparently only care about Final Fours, even though they as of recently haven't really gone to that many. I know there was a long stretch, trust me, I'm aware. There was a long stretch where it was like every class at Michigan State had, gone to a Final Four or whatever.
And once.
At least once. So yeah, but like if you are talking more recently, which we as Michigan fans know that the history jab, right? Like you got to go back in history to talk about things. It's getting there. So
if you just do since 2008, and you divide, it's fine. I'm just going to get myself
a very specific year, it's perfect.
I really hope no Michigan State fans listen to our podcast because they're a ruthless bunch. I'll give them that. I've had some interesting and wild interactions. But the one thing I want to talk about is they keep like making fun of Michigan fans because they're like talking about how, when Michigan makes a tournament, they go to the Sweet 16. They're like, if you just forget the years that we were bad. And I was like, I texted this group chat, but I'm like, since 2008 is their favorite phrase.
Right.
So it's like, we all do it. We all try to, change our narrative, change whatever you're looking at to fit the narrative. And we all do it, but like, don't, come on.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, Michigan's had some bad basketball years.
I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, we went 8-24 last year, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget it, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
do
fine.
everything I can in my
But when
power.
Michigan makes the tournament, that's just a wagon in March.
It is a wagon. It's they're starting to call it. They're rearranging the calendar actually. That it's January, February, May, April is what they're doing.
May, June, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
May comes twice. Well,
if there's a chance of something happening that I think we should, we might have to change the calendar around a little bit. We'll see.
I agree with that.
I don't know if I'll survive that Sunday. If that, like, I may have to call out next Monday for work.
That would it would be. I'm not even going to talk about it because that would be the most like insane 24 hours on social media of all time, maybe. So, all right. On a downer note, a little bit here though. Freshman guard Justin Pippen did enter the portal today. I mean, a couple things on that from myself is the portal window sucks. Like, again, how are we doing this with basketball?
It doesn't make any sense with basketball.
Same as we're doing it in football. Like, you can wait literally 10 more days and and we'll be fine, right? Like, it's crazy that this is happening again. And I feel for the kids. It sucks for him and I don't blame him either. I guess that's my second point where it sucks. I would have, I think he's going to be a solid player and a good player. But when you watch LJ Kaysen come on, at the end of that game, you look at Trey McKinney coming in, you look at, I'm assuming, Dusty trying to load up a bit in the portal because of our, I would just say, lack of depth at the guard positions this year. And it's probably like, hey man, if I had to assume what the conversation was like, it was like, we really like you. We think that you're going to be, you could be something here, but that's not going to stop us from trying to get better at this position. Right. And so here's the situation. And I bet you Dusty was very transparent with him. And, that's what the portal's for nowadays, right? It's for, hey, I want to find a situation where I can go play right away. You only have so many years in college basketball. So like, I get it that you don't want to just sit for multiple years, and he's already burned, a year of eligibility this year. So got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, my biggest concern is that he's going to do what his dad did and grow to be 6'8". And it's like, damn, I mean, I touched on it earlier with LJ. I still think that he's going to be a good college basketball player. So it's disappointing, and maybe he's a guy that just wants to explore his options and may return if the opportunity presents itself here. But to your point, with LJ stepping up and becoming more of a factor, Trey McKinney coming in to play that 2 or 3 spot, Trey's back, right? Namari, I think, can be back. Roddy's back. Like, it's a crowded wing room, right? So I totally get that from his perspective. But yeah, this is the world that we live in, and a lot of people, get upset or groan about it or whatever. I mean, it's just, you gotta have to get used to it. And I think Michigan's going to be obviously fine. They're going to go find some guys in the portal. They're already, sounds like Michigan's, making some moves from what I've heard, and maybe some other college coaches aren't thrilled about Michigan with a money cannon with Jolene.
I mean, it's a lot more than her. I'll say that, but it is. I think and we're going to talk about football here in a second, as well as spring practice is starting. Michigan's NIL situation is very, very good right now in both football and men's basketball. So that's all I'm going to say. But both programs are loaded up in terms of what the bank account has in it, and B, super aggressive in how they're approaching it. Aggressive and progressive, I'll say that.
My $50 to those who stay fund, man, can't be understated.
Honestly, I'm surprised that nobody has mentioned that recently.
Yeah, like, where's my dinner? I'm gonna go to the Chop House with Sharon and Bryce. Come on.
Yeah, that was like 2+ years ago, but it's fine. It's good.
I've donated since then. I'll throw it in there, a little Venmo transaction every so often. I love that it's Venmo, because it's like, I don't know, look at the joint bank. I don't know what that is. I Venmoed somebody for some pizza. It was at the Pretzel Bell. We had the pretzel.
Exactly. But no, I think that the portal is going to be interesting here. I think that I expect once Michigan finishes this run, they're going to be making moves pretty much right away. I will also, like, for Michigan fans out there, I wouldn't be shocked if Pippen isn't the only one entering the portal, because I think that Dusty is just he saw the value in the portal this past year, and so I think that he's probably going to hit that again and load up and say, all right, we probably need another Vlad, right? Like, we probably need somebody for Danny. So you're going to need to add a ton of talent, especially on the big end side. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's a lot of movement.
Go get Terrence Reed again, man. Just come back home.
Although he couldn't box out at the end of the game against whoever that was. But
anyway. Well, real quick, I know we're going to talk about football, spring practice. Sharon had a presser. I just wanted to say, because I said it before, like, what is the point of having the transfer portal for college basketball open right now? Like, the semester ends in like a month and a half. You can't find a college and
I don't understand, like, today of all days. That makes no sense. But the only thing I can think of for them to do it before technically like the season is over is that most schools are done and people are going to be talking anyway. So if they're like, well, you know what, people are going to talk anyway. But at that point, just do it at the end of the conference tournaments when, a lot of people are out or something, right?
Yeah, it just kind of feels like another one of those NCAA things where they're like, well, we tried. And it's like, they didn't do anything. They just were like, well, our hands are tied on this one. We're going to get sued into oblivion. So we'll just do like the dumbest things possible. That's basically the NCAA's game plan.
That's forever and ever. All right. So football spring practice started this past week. So they've had a few different practices. I think they're going like every other day right now throughout the spring. And then leading up to obviously the spring game on April 19th. First thing that I'm going to touch on is we got our first video of Bryce Underwood throwing in practice at Michigan. And I don't even know, like, it was very casual throwing, but it just got me going already.
It was kind of like when I think when you saw JJ's like camp highlights for the first time, and it's like, whoa, you take anything you can get at this point of football. We're starved for football. Thank God for Michigan basketball keeping us entertained. But the moment the Final Four is over and the Masters are over, and I'm like, all right, like, where's college football?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were hyped up on those two throws. But I will say, as little as you could take from that, you could just kind of tell the ball is different when the dude throws it compared to other Michigan quarterbacks.
Definitely. And that's not a shot at the other quarterbacks. I think he's just like, he's one of those guys that's just that physically gifted. And we've talked about on this podcast of like, already he's way more physically down the road at his age than JJ was at when he came into to Michigan, when he was an early enrollee. And so you obviously saw how great JJ ended up. And so I have no idea what Bryce is going to be, but he's already there. I also think here's like a fun take, but half the battle of being a good QB is just the ball coming out of your hand and looking pretty, like that's like half the battle. And that thing looked pretty.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I know you're being facetious, but like, I think the ball looked, and we're just really just like micro analyzing this.
We're going off of like two throws from like a weird angle.
Yeah, going like what do they call it, Zapruder style or whatever, or however you say that. I don't know. I'm not cultured like that. But like, you could just tell the ball talent, like the arm talent, it's different with this kid. It's similar to like a Matthew Stafford back in the day coming out of high school going to Georgia. It's similar to JJ McCarthy, similar to Trevor Lawrence, right? Like these quarterbacks who come every so often, you could just tell, like, to your point though, like it does help if you're a quarterback, you can just throw the ball really hard and get it into tight windows and get it there quicker. Like that is part of being a good quarterback, and you could tell he's got the arm strength. So yeah, I'm sure that will not be the last time that he gets hyped up on this show or any other Michigan-focused show. Looking forward to the next 3 years of that.
It's going to be very difficult, honestly, to not talk about it, because I'm sure like we're going to see more practice film and pictures and videos, right? And then the spring game comes about, and like if he throws like one bomb, it's gonna be just chaos because
Yeah.
everyone's going to be ready.
On three is gonna post like a picture with like all caps title of like I don't even know what they're gonna put like felony, you know? I don't know, dude. Yeah, it's gonna be all over like House of Highlights on three. Everyone's gonna go crazy over it. So let's hope that we do get one of those deep balls. Be nice to, I don't know the last time Michigan had a downfield shot.
Seriously,
They had
like
to go back to JJ probably. So
I again, I don't even care if it's complete. I just want to be able to like take a shot every so often. Which
yep.
it sounds like so Sharon talked about Chip Lindsey a little bit today too. Said the main reason in bringing him in was his adaptability on calling an offense. He noted how he coached Drake May, who threw for over 3,000 yards, but then the next season had a running back that ran for 1,500 in his offense. So shout out to Bryce Merritt for that little note. And so I think that is exactly what you want out of from where Michigan is at right now. You obviously have, the talent at quarterback, but you have Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall, Ben Hall at running back, and you're still a smash mouth football team, right? So you want to be able to do both, which it sounds like Chip Lindsey can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously with Michigan, you're still going to have your tight ends. So, we had Marlon on about a month and a half ago, talked to him and some of these younger guys like Zach Marshall, some of the other tight ends. I'm not in football mode, so their names are escaping me at the moment, but obviously Michigan's
Hogan Hansen.
Yes, Hogan Hansen. Yes, Brady Priestcorn, right? Like,
I just needed to get you going.
Yeah, you did, and then the Rain Man type shit kicked in for me. So yeah, and then Freddie Moore as a receiver coming back, I think is poised to have a solid year, and some of the incoming freshmen could be an added boost.
Donovan McCulley at wide receiver. Sharon did touch on
the dude from UMass. I can't remember his name, but the guy coming in from UMass who's very talented. Obviously out of Texas. Talking about Andrew Marsh, that kid is a dog. Jamar Browder is like 6'5" and an athlete, so he's going to be, I think, a steal in that recruiting class. Jasper Parker, the running back coming in out of Louisiana. Jacob Washington, the receiver out of Louisiana. I mean, they just got a lot of talent in that class. And maybe, it's not, number 22 player in the country level of talent, but they're going to be some really good guys that develop over time. And I think are going to help Michigan, maybe, with the help of Bryce Underwood, look a lot better on offense in the future.
I mean, what Sharon did touch on as well, he said he wanted big size players at the wide receiver position. And it's, his, as in his words, very encouraging to see them in practice. I do think that does make a difference. Like, we just didn't have the size at the wide receiver position, this past year. And even before that, really, right? Like, Roman Wilson was our leading receiver. And so obviously he was very good, but I think that does make a difference. And so, when you're using those guys along with the tight ends that you mentioned as well, that's encouraging to me. That's exciting to me to say, all right, we can, when we get down to the red zone, throw it up in the corner to somebody and they can go get it. Right. Obviously you had Colston last year, but like when you just have that one guy and they could double team or something, that's hard to do, especially when you get down into tight room in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Donovan McCulley's 6'5", so you've added some size. I mean, Freddie's a decent sized receiver as well. I think Freddie would kill it in a slot if you could put him there. But I think Anthony Simpson is the guy I'm thinking of who's a receiver coming in from UMass. So had a really solid, some really solid stats over there at UMass under Don Brown, I think. Yeah. But he's like 5'11", so I'm sure he's probably going to get some slot snaps and Samaj, right? So
of course, yeah. So, and then I would say one semi-concerning thing is that Sharon came out and said Rod Moore is not practicing right now. He did say that he's expected to be ready for the season, but I think from a timing standpoint of an ACL, we probably would have expected him to be back by now.
It's been a year.
It's been a year, right? So I would have thought like 9 months is usually the recovery time for that. So I'm not sure if that was a setback in rehabbing or a different injury. He didn't specify, but we definitely need Rod Moore in that secondary. And so you would have loved to see him utilize this spring practice and spring training to, get back into shape, see the field again, see some live ball and all that.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, they brought in the Metcalf brothers from Arkansas who are both safety type of guys. So, you have some depth there. But yeah, I wish we had Keon Sapp, man. Miss that guy. I was
Do
playing
miss
against
that guy.
Alabama on college football, and I was like, oh. And then I saw his little brother's like the number 7 player in his class for high school. And I'm like, dang, man. Yeah, that one still kind of stings, but just because I've got the transfers pulled up here for 2025. I mean, some really, really good players coming in that I'm excited about on both sides of the ball. So, it's going to be fun. We got a lot of guys coming back from last year that stepped up towards the end of the season. I think the defensive line is going to be nasty. I think Ernest is going to take a big step.
He did. Sharon mentioned TJ and TJ Guy and Derek Moore.
Yeah,
I think he, in his words, it was something to the effect of he thinks that they could be two of the top, DNs in the country. And I agree.
Absolutely.
So I mean that's been the cornerstone, I would say, of our defense for the past, through the success of since 2020, right? Of having the edge and setting the edge, and then obviously you need the guys to plug up the middle. But when you can create chaos like these guys can on the outside, it turns a lot of other things very difficult for an offense to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Michigan just throughout the Jim Harbaugh era, when they had their best defenses, they had elite NFL level rush players and then defensive tackles as well. Right. And when Michigan was truly at its best in 2023, you had 2 deep NFL guys at defensive end and defensive tackle. So, you got to hope that some of these guys coming in, like Damon Payne coming back home to Michigan, the dude from Clemson, I think Trey Williams. So, in the interior, and then you got to hope that some of your guys are, the homegrown players that they've been in the program for a number of years, like Derek and TJ, and then some of these guys that have been waiting their time. For their time to get on the field, like at defensive end, that they're going to come ready. So, but yeah, I'm very excited. The defense is going to be nasty once again. I think Winks kind of got college figured out a little bit better than he did this time last year. As you saw, the results towards the end of the season were a lot better. So, yeah, I'm excited. We got the best kicker in the country. So,
We also, Sharon touched a little bit on recruiting, which I just want to say, it has been a monster spring for Michigan already in recruiting, just in terms of visits. It has been huge names every single weekend coming to visit.
And they said the number 1 player in the class.
Number 1 player in the class, Jackson Cantwell, just came in, offensive tackle. I'd love to have him alongside Andrew Babalola protecting Bryce Underwood. That would be that's a dream come true, right? Yeah, and then hopefully you have Blake Frazier and Sprague and those guys as upperclassmen at that point. But this has our guy BB's Big House, go follow him on Twitter, puts out incredible content all the time. But this list that he sent is 30-40 guys deep of recruits that have come through. One thing, you're much more ingrained in the recruiting than I am, so I want to ask you this: is it normal that these guys are staying for 3 or 4 days? That seems typically crazy.
I think a lot, especially, I don't know, because they've kind of changed the calendar, and I've kind of not been as in tune as I used to be, being a parent, all the obligations and all the things that come with getting older, being an adult. But I know, they've changed the kind of the rules, and I don't even know if these would be considered officials. I don't know if you can take officials starting in the summer before your senior year. I don't know how that all works, but no, I mean, typically when you're a junior going into your senior year, you're probably going to go hit, 1 school a day. So you may come to Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, right, whatever in the area. But the fact that they're staying 3-4 days, I think is a really good sign. Must be a really long NIL presentation, Justin. I don't know, but I mean, I haven't seen. So I've seen some of the names. I don't have the all-encompassing list, but a guy I'm really excited about, Carter Meadows, who's an edge out of. He's from Gonzaga College in Washington, D.C. He's the number 33 player, according to 247. Also, On3's rankings are now behind a paywall. Absolutely wild behavior over there. Shout out to our boys at On3, with Anthony Broom and Clayton. They're not making that decision, though.
That's above their pay grade.
But that's wild. So, because I was trying to see some different rankings for these guys, but yeah, Carter Meadows he's 6'6". I mean, perfect edge type player. So he's a guy I'm excited about. But yeah, this is around the time that I start really getting a little bit more into recruiting. Things kind of start happening, visits happen, guys cut their list down, and you kind of know where you stand with players. So this is when I get into it a little bit more. But no, I don't think it's normal at all, Justin. I think that's pretty unique. Maybe I'm wrong with other schools. They're maybe doing this, but that's, you gotta think that's a good sign.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty pumped about it. I think what I'm most impressed by with Sharon is just coming in and I don't think it's any secret that Jim Harbaugh was not really focused. He was focused on winning a national title, not setting the program up for the next decade. Where so for Sharon to come in and just completely flip the entire recruiting department. He's added a ton of people to it. He has been super aggressive. So the culture of that flipping it on its head completely is really impressive while keeping the culture of the locker room, right? We always talk about that a lot. I think that's always the toughest part and the most important part, where you can't let the culture of your program go out the window and just focus on paying athletes and paying as many 5-stars as you can, right? We've seen that fall apart at Texas A&M. We've seen that fall apart at a lot of different places. And so I think that's where I'm most impressed with Sharon right now. And I think he's just getting started in it, right? Like they're humming in that. And it's one of those, we've talked about this too. Recruiting is a snowball effect, right? When you get the 5-star quarterback in Bryce Underwood, then 5-star Jackson Cantwell comes to visit, and 5-star Andrew Babalola commits, right? Because he wants to play alongside them. And so the more momentum that you can continue to have with this, the better it gets.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that momentum, to your point. It's just hard to believe because Michigan's had some really good recruiting classes when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach, but they didn't always pan out. So it's like it always, remains to be seen. But I think what Sharon is doing is almost kind of unprecedented. Like you probably got to go back to the pre-recruiting network era to find like the amount of talent on campus that Michigan has had over the last, however many weeks and months at this point. But man, like I don't know, they're in on Ryder Lyons, who is a 5-star quarterback from the state of California in
Which
this year's class.
Chip
But
Lindsey,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, sorry to interrupt you, but Chip Lindsey actually said like he's our number one priority. Like I feel like those types of things didn't even come out of Michigan coaches' mouths pre, the last couple of years.
And the interesting thing about him is I believe he's doing a 1-year mission.
Interesting.
So it sounds like Michigan, Oregon, Ole Miss, BYU, from what I can tell. And Oregon's still in it for Jared Curtis. It's Oregon and Georgia. He's another 5-star quarterback. Must be nice. I mean, I don't know. We just got one. So,
Yeah.
But I kind of forgot about Bryce. But no. So, there's a lot of dominoes that will probably happen. And we'll kind of see some more clarity on Michigan's quarterback situation. But if they go number 1 overall, 5-star quarterback Bryce Underwood, to then I think he's number 6 and then number 16 in the composite 5-star quarterback. Like it's not bad.
Not bad at all. They're in a really good position right now. Pretty excited. And so it's one of those things right now where you're like, we're talking about the future, right? I think we've talked about this like 3-year window, call it, with Bryce Underwood, assuming that he's as good as advertised and going to go to the NFL after 3 years. But I think that we're pretty, we need to load up right now. And then you need to use this, as I just said, as momentum for the future too, and continue to build.
Because when you stack all the talent, you win a lot of games. Guess what? You're going to stack all the talent. It's just a vicious cycle. It's what Nick Saban did. It's what Kirby Smart did. So, with Michigan, when they won the national championship, again, we talk about with luck in March Madness. There's some luck in this stuff too, right? And you hit perfectly on JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum, Will Johnson, Mason Graham. But if you just like tonnage it, right, and just stack up on talent like Georgia does, like chances are you're probably going to be able to compete with anybody, right?
I mean, again, you still have to have that culture for sure. But if you just look at the national champions over the years, like 90% of them, 90+% of them are all in the top like 3 in recruiting rankings from the year.
Yeah, it's been Michigan and Clemson, I think, over the last 25 years that were not in the composite, like for their team. I think Michigan was like 13th.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Mason Graham ended up playing like a 5-star, right? Like Blake Corum ended up playing like a 5-star. So, they're going to have some misses, but yeah, for Michigan to overcome that recruiting discrepancy, like it was hitting on every single, like Chris Jenkins was a 3-star, Mason Graham was a 3-star when he committed. Like you had to hit Mikey Samers, so right, like you had to hit and develop on every single guy. Even more so in today's day and age, we know you're not going to have the time to develop guys. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to go this route of just landing top talent and, just hoping it works out. So, but I'll take my chances with, 4 and 5 stars.
I will take my chances too. And the last thing I'll say on that is I think to your point of we haven't really seen this from Michigan. Like I feel like in years prior, Michigan wasn't even getting like conversations with these guys, right?
Yeah.
It was, they'd come out with their top 10 and it'd be, Clemson, Bama, Georgia, right? Like Texas A&M, it'd be all those Southern schools. Ohio State always in there, of course, too. And then like Michigan would not be in on the list, right? And so, I think that just that's progress alone. And I don't want it. That's not like a moral victory type of thing, right? But like, I just want it. Like, I think that we were already coming a long way in recruiting. And then if he can continue to land and build on it, it's taking Michigan's program to the next level. So,
well, I just real quick, because we haven't done a podcast just you and I in a while, and we're almost at an hour. So, but I just wanted to say that Steve Lorenz, shout out to Steve, I think he's one of the best in the business. He put in a prediction for a tight end from Montana, Matt Ludwig. So, go from a tight end from Idaho to a tight end from Montana. Love Big Sky Country. They produce great tight ends. Let's just keep it rolling. Just, just like the very, rural area of like kind of the Pacific Northwest, kind of the Great Plains. Not sure how to describe those two states. Let's just keep rating them for their tight ends.
Absolutely. Why not? I don't see why not. So, all right. Anything else you got for today? I think we'll have some more content coming out here. Obviously, follow us everywhere for a bunch of March Madness coverage and everything else. I guess the last thing I want to touch on, just like for literally 10 seconds, then never think about it ever again, is the Matt West situation, which is just disgusting. And
wild.
I don't even know where to start because it's not only gross, but it's literally psychopathic behavior. And
you've been doing it since 2015, I think.
How do you have the time for that as an assistant coach? How do you even start there? How do you get down this rabbit hole? I have so many questions, but he needs to be behind bars. And I feel for like these student athletes that now don't know probably like if he accessed or what he accessed or whatever.
There's a lawsuit already.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, 2 former student athletes have sued him.
Probably grow. I would assume and become a class action of some sort.
That's going to be.
I'm not a lawyer, but
I have to imagine thousands, right?
Yeah.
Seeing as the number of accounts, I guess, was like in the 100,000s that he was accessing. So
you're like a coat. Like I don't even know, man.
It's crazy. So I mean, I feel for the kids. You have a baby girl now, right? So it's like. I can't imagine being a father of, that of a girl that was a student athlete there. And, that's just sickening. So,
yeah. I don't know, man. Like, just, I don't know. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. Especially, having a little girl, like definitely changes your kind of perspective on things. So yeah, absolutely wild. I didn't know what to expect when that news was, whenever it hit, I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's pretty bad. I don't know. I didn't know what to expect though.
It's bad in a different way. You know what I mean? Like I think I expected it to be something bad in a totally different way, but this is like even grosser than I could have imagined, and it's a weird way. So yeah. I think the one thing, like I'm glad Michigan, as soon as they like learned about it at all, it seemed they took very swift action. Let him go, and as far as I know, right? I have no idea the behind the scenes, but. So it just sucks for everybody involved. Sucks a little news story about Michigan that people can talk about and blah blah blah, but
I just hope that the victims find peace and all that good stuff, right? Like that's just I've never experienced anything like that. Yeah, I mean I just hate that I think what I've realized as I've gotten older is that just like there's shitty people in every walks of life, right? So like it's like, yeah, University of Michigan has employed shitty people, and shitty people have gone to the University of Michigan as students or whatever. Like, and that's true of every institution in the country. And if they don't have that, then they're very lucky. So
Yeah.
it's just an unfortunate thing. I mean, can we switch gears to something like,
Yeah.
you
Let's
know,
end on a positive note here.
well, I don't know. So I was just thinking about this. We were talking about March Madness, man. You remember when we were kids, we had multiple college basketball games to play. You know, you could play College Hoops 2K or you could play NCAA March Madness. So I saw this a couple months ago, but I thought, you know, every this time of year, I'm like, man, I want to play some college basketball. So there's rumors that EA Sports and 2K are talking about a college basketball game.
Okay.
So, you know, we might have college football and college basketball back. So
That would
me, I love, you know, sports games. That's my thing. And that would be incredible.
I love
You know?
that. That would
Just-
be amazing.
Because I've been playing like the old 2K8 and the graphics are just not holding up for me. It's tough. It's really tough.
2K is a long time
Like
ago.
I downloaded like the current roster, which is cool, but like Trey Donaldson's Fro, it's just like it's not great. Like I need to see it in like HD, you know, 4K. So let's pray that we get a college basketball game because that would be electric.
All right. And then on Friday, you know, Michigan heading down to Atlanta. So very excited for that. Again, there will be a watch party at Pretzel Bell on Friday night. They've got, let me see. Here's the deals that they've got. Let me pull this
And
up.
I preemptively will say, not that anybody's going to go to see me, but I will not be there, unfortunately. I've got one of my best man at my wedding is turning 30. So his mom is throwing a party for him. That just will, you know, little 30th birthday shindig, because he's still a bachelor. So his wife's not throwing it for him, you know. Shout out my boy. But we're going down Friday early. And so, I will not be there. I'll be there in spirit.
I will have to drink more. I'll have to drink your share then at Pretzel Bell.
We'll come back Sunday and prepare for the end of the world.
That's perfect. But they got $5.50 high noons, $3.50 mystery beers, $5 Hail IPA drafts, which is a great deal for that solid IPA. Obviously, we love Hail IPA. And then they've got $25 domestic and seltzer buckets. You get 6 beers or 6 seltzers for $25. Hell of a deal. During the game only. So come on down to Pretzel Bell. We'll have it rocking. Very excited. We had DJ Ray there on Saturday. He lit it up. It was incredible. Great vibes all around. So I didn't get any Sabrina Carpenter though. That was on me. I should have asked for it. It's helpful when you ask for that at like a tailgate when we have like 7 hours of music versus, you know, just a couple. So that's true. I didn't want to be spoiled, and it would have hit though. It would have slapped. It would have been great. Yeah. It would have been absolutely phenomenal. All right. Well, for us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 podcast on YouTube and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue. Go Blue.